Here we have a girl from, I don't know what podcast it is called. It's Poor Minds. That's what it's called. And she's going to talk. Now, I didn't see the clip yet, but it's gone viral. And judging by the replies, I already have a feeling on where this is going. So let's take a listen.
So if you're making $50,000, don't date. I'm just being for real. You're not ready to date.
Again, I'm with you.
You're not ready to date. You're not ready to date because courtship costs.
Okay.
Everything costs. Okay. You can go for 22 walks in the park. Eventually, shorty is going to need a sip of something. She's going to be thirsty. This bottle of water is $3 in Atlanta. Let's not play. So if you don't have any expendable cash, don't date. And whatever that looks like for you, you might only make $50,000, but you live in a shoe. And now you got expendable cash. Or get you a bottom of the barrel that's going to date you when you have no money. If she doesn't have that expectation, and I'm going to tell you this right now, enjoy it while it lasts because eventually you're going to want to run because she doesn't stretch you. She doesn't make you the man that you need to become. She allows you to be the stagnant dude in the same jeans for days. You know what I'm saying?
Be cutting up.
I'm just talk about me. So if you're making $50,000.
Yeah, it went exactly how I thought it would. Because I didn't watch the video yet until now. But just judging by the comments and looking at the captions, I'm like, oh, here we go. Talking about, oh, don't date if you're making this money and don't date if you got that money. And she said something very ironic by the end of the clip. I'm not sure if you guys caught it, but she said something very ironic. Now, at first she's saying if you make $50,000 a year, basically saying if you're making average amount of money, don't date. Look, man. Judging by your appearance, ma'am, I don't think you can really be making demands like this or making a statement like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, just you know, no disrespect. You know, yeah. What do people respectfully? I don't think you have the capacity to make these kind of demands right here. But let's take a listen one more time and I'll dissect what she's saying.
Don't date. I'm just being for real. You're not ready to date.
Again, I'm with you.
You're not ready to date. You're not ready.
And unfortunately, she has the two hyenas next to her just hyping her up. And that's a problem, you know, especially with a lot of bigger girls. Unfortunately, they have skinny girlfriends, whatever, so-called friends that be hyping them up. And really, they're just sabotaging you, letting you become big, letting you say whatever you want, not checking the girl, not telling, hey, maybe you shouldn't roll like this. Maybe you should roll like that. You know what I mean? But like I said, many women don't have real friends.
Date because courtship costs.
Okay.
Everything costs. Okay. You can go for 22 walks in the park. Eventually, shorty is going to need a sip of something. She's going to be thirsty.
So let's take her at her word when she's talking about courtship costs and you got to make this amount to date me and this. But look, why am I going to bust my ass to make, say, 6 figures or make above $50,000, bust my ass, and this is the product. This is my prize, right? You. And I'm looking at her. I'm like, so why would a man bust their ass for this? Like, this is nothing to brag. This is nothing to hold up in the air, like literally and figuratively. This is nothing to hold up. This is nothing like she's a side piece at best. And I'm going to show you something because they found out who she was. They found out her profile. They found some old stories of her. They kind of exposed what kind of girl she was.
See, this bottle of water is $3 in Atlanta. Let's not play. So if you don't have...
This is another thing. So these podcasts or particularly female podcasters coming out of Atlanta, you really shouldn't listen to what they have to say. I'm sorry, but let me put the camera. I'm going to put the camera on me real quick. Any woman that's making a statement or a declaration and her basis is from her point of view is I'm a girl from Atlanta and that's kind of how she sees the world through the eyes of Atlanta, you might as well take what she's saying with a grain of salt at best. Like at your best intentions, take it with a grain of salt because Atlanta is not the basis. Atlanta is not a representation of the rest of the world. Like Atlanta is Looney Tune land. Remember in the Space Jam where you go, Michael Jordan gets sucked in the golf hole and then he just, where the hell am I going? And then he goes into Looney Tune land. The cartoon, that's Atlanta. Atlanta is Looney Tune land. It's absolute. I don't even want to go into the details of it, but Atlanta is Looney Tune land. Like they'll talk about, oh, these men here and is this and blah blah blah, and then they'll be like, okay, where are you from? Oh, I'm looking for a man. Where? In Atlanta, bruh. That is Atlanta is not a real place. It's just not. It's Atlanta. Let me repeat this. Atlanta is Looney Tune land. Also, let me call out another podcaster that is very famous. Cindy Noir. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but she's like, one of those liberal feminists, whatever. But I really didn't have a problem with her. But then I saw in her bio, it says based in ATL. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if she grew up in ATL. I don't know if she lives there. But if her basis of the world of how she sees men is coming from the prison of these are how men are because I'm in ATL, how can you make judgments? How can you talk about certain things if your reference is Atlanta? You can't even see. You know what I mean? That's all I had to say on that end. But let me go back. Let me just go back because that's all I had to say about that on that end. ATL is not a real place, bro. Anyway, let's resume.
Any expendable cash, don't date. And whatever that looks like for you, you might only make $50,000, but you live in a shoe. And now you got expendable cash. Or get you a bottom of the barrel that's going to date you when you have no money.
So she's saying date you a bottom of the barrel bitch, but that's what she is. That's the irony. I'm like, what are you talking about, bottom of the barrel? I'm looking at a bottom of the barrel bitch while I'm talking right now. Like, I'm like, this. Look, man. Like me personally, I don't find any fault in somebody wanting what they want, but you have to make the necessary adjustments too. Like what I would like, I can make a demand, but if I'm not where I need to be in life, people just laugh me off. But you have especially a lot of overweight women that they really think they're just above most men. And really most people, I'm not just talking about men, most people are sparing your feelings off GP just to make sure you don't get upset and cry. Just to save your feelings, you know what I mean? But like I said, girls like that don't get checked, and at most, guys are just gonna use her for a smash and grab, probably pay her off a couple of times, and I'll get into that later. But let's resume.
He doesn't have the expectation, and I'm gonna tell you this right now: enjoy it while it lasts, because eventually you're gonna want to run. Because she doesn't stretch you, she doesn't make you the man that you need to become. She allows you to be the stagnant dude in the same jeans for days. You know what I'm saying?
Be cutting up. You talk about me.
So I guess that's her, the other girls, that's her confession, basically. I'm dating street ninjas. But anyway, look. A lot of these words that we use, that a lot of ladies are using, these terms, provider and stuff like that. I'm going to make a video on that too. A girl touched on this. But the courtship, this cost, he needs to he needs to make this what do you say, equal or above. I don't want to date below. These are just code words of this thing costs, and this is basically now what we have in dating right now is just modern day prostitution, but with fancier words. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, women like this, they didn't get the results that they want in life, so now they think that life should be like this to basically to justify their own prostitution life, that they realize, like, they end up realizing, man, I'm just a jump off and a prostitute or a high end escort at best, which most IG models are, plus size models or skinny models, right? IG high end escorts at best, and now they realize they put themselves in a maze that they really can't get out of. So now they go to scamming. So they found out who this girl was. So now, so they found out who she was. So they did research on her on Twitter, which I try not to be on a whole lot, but I can't help it because the stuff just pops up. So they found her IG, and lo and behold, they found her old stories, and she's an escort. You know what I mean? So right here, you see my testimony up top. She says, sugaring made me feel so empty inside. I didn't want to be with these men just to get a bag, but I felt like I was already working my ass off. I couldn't get another job, so I would go out on paid dates just to get an extra $400 in my pocket. This was a date at this 5-star bed and breakfast. It was always nice while I was there, but I was still coming home to this. So sugaring, you know, they like to call themselves sugar babies, but they're just escorts. That's just a fancy way of saying escort. You know what I'm saying? So this is her testimony, we put in quotation marks, that she basically used to be a prostitute for older men. She says, then I got into sugaring, aka prostitution, started selling pictures and doing crazy stuff just to make a damn dollar. Not my proudest point, but something I don't hide because I want you to know a journey isn't always pretty. And the business you start is never the business you scale. You just got to start somewhere. Well, surprise, surprise. So, and then somebody, apparently they did more research on her. And if you look to the right, they say that she's selling hypergamy courses on her Instagram. So there's a lot of girls like her. Like we're on YouTube now, you got ladies doing like sugar baby tutorials, you know, literally like it's everything is ass backwards right now. So let's look at some of the comments, because I did see some of the comments where it was actually a lot of girls and a lot of women and men that were just like, bruh. This guy said, I wish microphones cost $50K so we wouldn't have to hear these combos in 2024 anymore. No, I think we need to hear this. I think we need to hear people's point of view, because before women would snitch on themselves, before women were snitching on themselves via these podcasts or TikTok, YouTube, whatever, when I used to talk about stuff like this, unfortunately, I shouldn't have done this, but with my coworkers, they thought I was making this stuff up. When we talk about the sugar babies, the what they're really escorts, or what the IG models are really doing for money, what people don't understand, the plus size models that you see on Instagram, or the self-proclaimed models, or even the models of past that be on the magazines, they're escorts. You know what I mean? They're escorts. That's how they didn't make money off the industry. They're not Giselle Bundchen. Most of these women have to sell box. You know what I mean? To make ends meet. You know what I mean? So you gotta, even if they have a job, a lot of them would still do that on the side. That's the goes for the plus size models, it goes for the IG models. Now they call it something different now. They call it, oh, I'm just a sugar baby, or oh, I just got flued out, or oh, I'm dating this rapper, but I'm signing an NDA. So they have so many fancy terms for this, but this is just all prostitution, but with extra steps. Let's look at the comments. He said, these podcasts going to have people 80 years old and single, but they already did the research. I think JP Morgan already did the research where basically he said by the year 2030, he said the research searchers from the firm basically told everybody that over 50% of women are going to be, I think, childless and single. They said single and childless. So, you know, it is what it is. Oh, here we go. She says, everyone's so upset about an opinion. Does the reality of your mediocrity offend you? Some of y'all get courted for free and don't want to be reminded of it. So I guess her stance is, I'm for sale. And it is what it is. But unfortunately, and on top of that, you know, here's another, because Aaron Clary touched on this, and I'm going to sign off on this. You'll hear women say stuff like this. Well, I need this man to make this much amount of money, or blah, blah, blah. I need a rich man, or I need this. But what they're saying is they want a man to spend money on them. So this is why you'll see them with drug dealers, right? With certain people with flexible time, but with flexible money on top of it. So it's not necessarily they want a rich man, because if they actually had a rich man, they wouldn't be able to spend the money that they think that they can. There's been plenty of women that said, man, I remember I was going out with this guy with means and he would audit me. You hear a lot of girls complain about their husbands, their rich husbands or rich exes or rich ex-boyfriend, how they were abusive and controlling for auditing them, because they would just spend frivolous money. And because if you actually want to make money and retain it, you can't just spend it. You have to save it. You got to do investments. You got to be in real estate. And once you get the money, you got to do everything that you possibly can to keep it, and not just spend it on some Gucci and stuff like that. So when you hear women say, oh, I want a rich man, I want this man to make this amount, what they're really saying, they want to find a guy that's just going to just spend money on them. Just spend money on him. Not so it's not necessarily them wanting a rich guy. They just want somebody to spend money on him. And she and many others, the obese girl, she falls under that category. I just found it funny. I ended up doing this video because I just saw the captions and whatnot, and it was going viral. But it's interesting. I find it interesting. She said, you need a bottom. If you don't want to move up in life, you need a bottom of the barrel bitch. And I'm just like, the lack of self-awareness for somebody her size to say this. And she's literally the definition. Like, she looks like a Corey Holcomb joke, like a bottom of the barrel bitch. That's what she stole that from, by the way. Bottom of the ninth. She stole that from Corey Holcomb. So just putting that out there. I only heard Corey Holcomb say something like that. Anyways, that's all I have to say on that matter. Hopefully she finds what she's looking for, even though I doubt that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? And trust me, she's still messing with Pookies and whatnot. But I'll even sign off. I'll leave it off as this: when you dealing with a girl like that has been in any type of sex work, meaning she's an IG model, she did OnlyFans, she's done porn, she's been in the streets, she's done sex work of any type sort, prostitution, any of sorts. A girl like that, it's impossible for her to fall in love with anybody or to have any real feelings for a man, because that's what happens when you're in that, on the dark side, so to speak. So I'll just leave it off on that.